What's the most fricked up thing a friend has done? Years ago I was at work and got an irate call from a friend's mother. Apparently she left her jacket at a mutual friend's house and a bunch of guys I hung out with crap and pee on her jacket and blamed it on me. So there's that. Who the frick? What the frick? What? Super close friend of me and my husband. He was in our wedding and met my then 14-year-old sister. Within 2 months, he was stalking her so badly intervention was required, and he lived on the other side of the state. Then, my husband stumbled on a folder belonging to said friend that filled with nothing but photos of lady feet and pics of my sister. I'm sure it comes as no shock that he got busted for kiddie pee a few years later and is now a registered sex offender. Note, my sister was not in the kiddie pee. Just row. When I was 8, my best friend and I agreed that during our school's cross-county run we'd finish together, and when one has to slow down and walk so would the other. Stitch etc. We slowed and walked several times for him. Then when I got a bad stitch and slowed, he just took off and kept going. When I got back to school I went up to him and asked WTF happened. That's when a group of other kids started laughing at me and he told me his friend suggested he trick me into going slower with him, then take off as soon as I'm tired. The fact it was planned, premeditated, and he was my best friend made me so upset. Probably minor in comparison to most of these stories, but something about it still pisses me off. I had an old high school buddy, or ex-buddy now, who beat his then GF to near death with a crowbar. He went away for a few years and when he got out within a year he was back in for beating the pizza delivery driver who delivered his pizza. Dude, what the frick? That's one of the cardinal rules of the universe. Don't frick with the pizza guy. Stole my rent money, stole my money, stole my food, actually stole little things from my room and anything she could get her hands on. Lied about being raped, her stepbrother dying, and our mutual friends kissing her. Lied about everything else in her life. Quit good paying jobs for no reason when she was my roommate and would threaten to not pay rent. Smelled so bad because she never showed. Never. Tried to sneak into my husband's bed in the middle of the night to frick him, hoping that with the lights off he wouldn't realize that she wasn't me. We were all staying at another friend's vacation house and my husband had gone to bed early. I was still downstairs with everyone else when Susie announced she was going to bed about an hour after my husband had gone up. 20 minutes later I get a text from my husband saying Susie just came in here naked and started grinding on me. I think she was trying to trick me into thinking she was you. He knew it wasn't me because I am quite a bit shorter than Susie and I smell different and have longer hair, and also I've been with my husband since high school, so even in the dark he knows whether or not the person humping him is me. When I confronted her the next day she denied it, but turns out she told another mutual friend that she was planning on doing that and he didn't think she actually would, so he didn't say anything to me or my husband about it. So yeah, that was pretty fricked up of her to do. Man frick Maya. My best friend at the time pulled the school fire alarm. Fire trucks showed up and everything, and it was a false alarm. He blamed it on me, saying that I dared him to do it and he caved in because best friends are supposed to do what their friends ask. We both got in ton of trouble, and it took me a long time to live it down. I asked him why did he really pull the alarm, and he said the sign said pull and he was curious to see what would happen if you push the lever instead. He dragged my name in to somehow deflect the blame off of him. My parents and teachers never believed my story. That was over 20 years ago, and I'm still salty over it. Freaking butthole. So I used to hide treasures in my hometown. I'd pull out like $100 in gold $1 coins and find a cool looking chest at a thrift store or some awesome looking container. Then I'd find a cool place to hide it, make a series of maps and riddles and hide them in clothes at thrift shops and books at public libraries. At the end I'd normally leave my email so people could tell me that they found it. I wanted someone to have a real life adventure. Well, I had one with my friend and after a year nobody had emailed me, so I went to check on it. All the money was gone but everything else was still there. Turns out my friend just drove back up there and took it all. You're like my favorite type of human. One of my friends cut his mother's throat with a box cutter during an argument. I hadn't talked to him for a few weeks before it happened because he'd been unhinged. I saw his mom at the store. She had a bandage and some gauze wrapped around her neck. I asked her what happened, so she pulls me to the side and tells me that her son was off his meds. They got into an argument. He held her down and cut her throat with a box cutter. She tried to reassure me that he wasn't really trying to kill her, just scare her and maybe go back to jail so he could get treatment for his mental illness. Before sentencing, she asked me to write a character reference letter for him saying that he was okay while medicated and what he did was totally out of character. It wasn't. He'd been off meds and irrational for weeks. He was the kind of guy who goes off his meds when he thinks he's cured and back on them when it gets so bad his friends can't be around him anymore. I told her I couldn't do it. I'd feel awful if I wrote that letter and he got a lighter sentence because of it. Then he turned around and did something even worse later. Reminds me of when my cousin asked me to be a character witness for her crazy boyfriend who wanted to be a cop. I kind of gave vague, not quite yes or no answers. Then they asked if I'd trust him with a gun. Couldn't bluff that one. Had to say no, and then reaffirmed with them that neither he nor my cousin would ever find out about this. Whenever this friend found out I was interested in somebody they would ask them out. Before or after I did. Didn't matter. He admitted to coercing other men into having sex with him. He was gay and ruining their innocence, or however he phrased it. He'd often have drugs at the ready, so I suspect he was getting them high and then taking advantage of them. I didn't quite understand the weight of his words until he said a mutual acquaintance of ours was one of the guys he did it to. And I guess he said he contributed to his suicide attempt because the guy came back and told him that it really messed with him what he did to him. The last time I ever hung out with him was at a campfire. He had a male friend over and was being obviously flirtatious, and the poor guy was giving him really obvious signals that he wasn't into it. It was unnerving to watch. I haven't heard from him in years, but I wouldn't be surprised if I ever saw in the news that he was charged with rape or sexual coercion. He had some messed up friends too. What was your reaction then when he told you he was a sexual predator? When they were in 2nd grade, my brother and his moron friend had some science project thing. They were supposed to do some sort of baked soda volcano or similar, but it was up to them. The friend decided he wanted to show off a horned lizard, a native threatened species, so he asked my brother to find a specimen, dead or alive. Well, he came back with a live one and the dipshit friend took it, put it in a Ziploc bag, dropped it on the ground and then stomped on it, repeating what? It can be dead or alive. If you can imagine, a mashed lizard wasn't a proper science fair project, so they didn't even use the dang thing. Instead, he did some bullcrap involving electrocuting live earthworms. Parents, please teach your kids to treat animals with respect, even the ugly, gross and or stupid ones. Even the ugly, gross and or stupid ones. I'll assume you're talking about the kids here and not the animals. Slept with my husband. Pretended nothing happened and consoled me as my marriage fell apart. Makes me laugh now. No soul. That's fricked up. One of my friends threw an empty glass bottle at me and it caused me to lose 13 front teeth. It was an accident, but then he started to try and blame me. Even his mother would call me and say that this is all my fault somehow. They tried to turn the rest of our friends against me, but luckily they have seen what really happened. The case ended up in court. He threw a party, drank maybe 30 ounces whiskey, puked. I gave him water. Party's still going on but he's wasted. Passes out sitting up at table, falls on the ground. Pick him up and bring him to his bedroom and make him drink more water. His bedroom is directly off the living room. Leave the door open to keep an eye on him. Party dies down after cops show up with noise complaint. 8 of us left, music is off now and we're playing poker. All of a sudden we hear him laughing, we look over and he's laying in bed, pee straight up, laughing his butt off. We all start laughing, then next thing we hear from the bedroom couldn't have been anything other than explosive diarrhea. We all leave after the smell starts wafting towards us. All these horrific stories, then out of nowhere this gem turns up. I can't stop laughing. My best friend and I parted ways, got a while and are now back to where we used to be. I got out of the military and he stayed in. He got stationed in Germany and we used to FaceTime once a week just to shoot the crap. He ended up getting together with this bee who was super controlling. She didn't like the fact that he is also friends with my wife and could talk to her with such ease. Either way, he comes back stateside. I go visit him and he tells me he's planning on marrying her. I tell him it's a freaking horrible idea and I've never seen him so unhappy even after we lost a few good friends in the sandbox. We get into an argument and basically shake hands and walk away. I had a void in my life as I no longer had a best friend. He calls me 2 years ago and tells me he's getting a divorce. He flies out to see me in my new home and we end up spending 12 hours catching up over 2 bottles of wild turkey and about 3 packs of cigarettes. In the end he tells me he should have listened to me and he was sorry. I named my first child after him and now he's getting married again to an amazing woman who respects our relationship and to whom I've grown to love as a sister. Thank you for this. This was genuinely heartwarming to read. Best friend of 10 plus years. I had a miscarriage. Pregnancy unplanned, but I was married for 10 months when it happened. She goes on a long rant about how my husband can't afford to take care of you and why were you even thinking about having a family. It ended and it's your fault you had a miscarriage. If you hadn't been so stupid and forgot your birth control you wouldn't be in this situation. 3 days after it happened, that was 8 years ago, we parted ways. That happened soon after this confrontation. Regardless of her opinions of your life choices, that is absolutely the worst time to have that conversation. Friends are supposed to be supportive, and even tough love isn't being, and but when you're still in the throes of that terrible loss and the hormone crazy physical trauma. Happened to one of my friends. We'll call him Greg and his roommate Matt. Greg adopted a cat without asking Matt. The cat was really good natured and well behaved, but Matt expressed frustration to me about Greg never having asked him prior to getting the cat. Matt also told me later that same night about how his dad used to drive around their farm purposefully running over stray, feral cats. A few weeks later, the cat disappeared. They lived in an apartment complex with no direct doors to outside. Had to go through a hall, a doored stairwell or elevator, and 2 sets of doors to get out of the common room on the main floor. I'm almost positive that Matt got rid of the cat, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't as nice as dropping it off at a shelter. My now ex-friend of nearly 20 years accused my partner of touching her, very inappropriately, while I was there, sitting in between them. Of course it didn't happen, plus she had reason to set him up. But she went to the police anyway. After 2 months of heck they decided there was not enough evidence for it to even go to trial, so the whole thing was dropped. Super fricked up and I never did get a reason or an apology. Anyway, this will probably be buried, but that feels good to get off my chest. A couple months ago my friend who is my co-worker and roommate cheated on her long-term boyfriend with one of our co-workers after a party. They were both drunk but they both spent the night all over each other, with her talking about how she wants to frick him and how she's always been attracted to him. I end up ditching her, knowing that she had another co-worker, not the boy she liked, who was able to take her home safely, not thinking that she would let the boy stay over. Well, he did, and they had sex. Apparently several times. I heard it happening and ended up leaving the house because I was uncomfortable and my drunk logic was just that it was better to leave and avoid the situation. Well, last night she is telling another one of our friends that she wants to claim rape on him, which is bulls, because despite the fact that they were both drunk, they both clearly consented based on the actions I witnessed. And I know for a fact that she didn't tell him to stop or anything while it was happening, because she said so. And along with that she was trying to claim that a guy at the party we were at last night was sexually harassing her, when she was the one all over him and he didn't want anything to do with it. She just is trying to ease her guilt of the fact that she is a cheater by saying she is forced into doing things, and it pisses me off so much. TLDR, my friend is a cheating, lying B. If this is true, you need to tell someone before she tries to make a false report. I'm not entirely sure who would be best to talk to in your situation. Maybe a lawyer who could take your statements in case this ever does go to court. Befriended my fiance so that she could talk crap about her to the rest of our circle, spreading lies that never happened. My finance and I married, and we are no longer friends with that C. Good choice choosing the money. My best friend of 21 years fooled around with my wife while pretending to help me figure out my marriage and get it back on track. He even hung out with both of us and acted like an arbitrator for some of our more productive arguments. He was the godfather of both of my 2 kids. Turned out alright, divorce is on the way, and it's what I should have done years ago. He's no longer my friend, and I'm in an awesome relationship with an amazing woman who genuinely doesn't give herself nearly the credit she deserves. So maybe I should thank him? I dunno. Still stabbed me in the back, though. Frick you, dude. I was in my calculus class mid-afternoon and I get a call from my apartment complex. My dog was found alone in the dog park with another dog. They asked me why I left them there. I told them I was in class and I haven't been home since that morning. Left class early, got to the office and a cop was there holding both dogs. My heart freaking sank because I thought I was in deep crap like she bit someone. Turns out my friend and his friend took the dogs, my dog and the friends of, to the neighboring dog park. They eventually left the dogs there to go get snacks from the local gas station with the idea that they would watch each other. They said they were gone for a few minutes, but the office said they were sending someone out there to check every 15 minutes for about 3 hours. I took both dogs home and proceeded to lose my crap. How can someone do that with animals that are not even theirs? People like that boil my blood so much I know I could not handle it rationally if it ever came to me. My boyfriend cheated on me with one of my close friends while I was sleeping on the very couch they were on. Not full on intercourse, but enough stuff for it to be beyond twisted. I eventually woke up to it and we broke up. A few years later, the same happened again, this time on a bed. I can't make this crap up. It was a different friend and a different boyfriend, obviously. You'd think that that's such an extreme and fricked up thing to have happen to you that the universe feels like once is beyond enough for one lifetime. But apparently freaking not. I'm so sorry you had to go through that twice. That just seems so unfair on all levels. She offered to host my baby shower. She called a lot with ideas for games, menu ideas, etc. She sent out invites and delegated the cake to another friend. Great, right? The day of, I'm starting to panic. I'm about to have a house full of people and she's nowhere to be found. Not answering calls, emails, texts. B set me up. My husband signed a blank check, sent 2 of my friends to the store for food and game prizes while he ran to another store to get plates and napkins. It was a mess. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried while they were doing all this. I was useless because here I was, 7 months pregnant, with the broken foot, on crutches, and finding out my friend of a decade wasn't my friend at all. It ended up working out okay. It wasn't what I pictured but we had fun anyway. I was just beyond hurt and embarrassed. Oh, I forgot. She didn't invite my 2 best friends. I had called them earlier in the week to see if they were coming. That's how they found out about it. She later admitted she doesn't like them so she didn't invite them. Pulled his girlfriend's top down right in front of me, exposing her breasts. Said, "It's okay. She's drunk. She won't remember. We're no longer friends." I wonder what he would say if you said you would pull down his pants exposing his dong to everyone anytime he got drunk. He sucked my recent ex's toes, to which he sucked his toes. He then attempted to try and convince me to get back with her without informing me of any toe sucking activities. I only found out later when she went psycho on me. There's a reason she's an ex. Asked him to take care of our elderly dog for 3 days while we were at a wedding. He must have thought she was unwell because she was whining, as she would do because she misses us. So rather than waiting 1 more day for us to get home, he called a vet and had her put down immediately. What the frick? I had asked a friend to dog sit my pug and bulldog while I was on vacation in Europe. 3 days before I fly home, my friend emails me and says my pug is walking with a very slight limp. This isn't that uncommon after long playful chases between my 2 dogs. So I say don't worry. I also say, if it gets worse to take her to the vet and I will pay for the visit and her treatment. My friend does not say anything further, but the day I arrive back he says that he will not be at the house when I get home. Anyway, I get back home and my pug is not slightly limping. She is putting no weight at all on one of her front legs. It is obviously completely broken at the knee and just dangling freely. I found her on a blanket that was conveniently flipped. When I unflipped it, the other side of the blanket was covered in blood. After rushing to the emergency vet, the vet says my pug's leg is broken in multiple places and will not heal to be normal. In addition, The vet says my pug was trying to chew off her own leg at the knee. Dogs have a survival instinct to do this when dealing with horrible injuries. I am still super pissed that he let my dog suffer for 3 days and I have not spoken to him since that time. He is an ex-friend. My pug has recovered and to this day is a very happy tree pawed. Had a friend I met in middle school and we were close. We dated, broke up, still friends. Or so I thought. After that she was heck bent on dating my exes, copying my tattoos, my hair, my style, everything. She even went as far as sleeping with my ex when I was still with him for dang near 4 years. That is one of the main reasons my ex-BF and I broke up, cause he admitted to fricking her during our relationship. I'm married now and my husband can't stand her either, thank God. But she still copies me, and tries to clone herself into being me. It's freaking creepy. Yikes, I'd keep a close eye on her. That story smells suspiciously like the red flags leading up to her murdering you and stealing your face. Tried telling me my boyfriend had texted her saying he wanted to hook up with her. When I was with him the whole night she claimed he had texted her, and guess what? He didn't text her at all. Hanging out with him. Friend 1, and another friend. Friend 2. I get in an argument with friend 1 about Wikipedia being a reliable source or not, and after the argument was over he told me that he only came to my house to hang out with friend 2 because both of their houses were unusable at the time. I know it's not nearly as bad as the other posts here but it really hurt my self-esteem for a while. I'm in high school, junior year I think. And at the time my main social life was with my camp friends from my Jewish camp who lived really far away from me. Needed to fly to get there. I wasn't very popular in my school, and my camp friends were the most important friends I had. The year before, all of them had come to stay with me for a weekend and we had a great time, which was a huge deal because it took a really long time to get permission from all of our parents and set up the flights, etc. The summer that year, we all went on a 6-week trip to Israel with our camp, and I had a miserable time. I was your stereotypical awkward self-conscious teenager. A girl on the trip decided she hated me the first day on the trip for no reason, said I looked like someone else she hated, and bullied me for the rest of the trip. I was super unpopular and spent the trip trying to fit in completely unsuccessfully and all of my friends, the ones who visited me for New Year's, kind of went along with it. They didn't encourage it but also didn't try to help me. Being a stupid kid in high school, I was devastated but still thought my friends were close with me. Fast forward to the next New Year's Eve, which I spent alone with my mom again. Not many friends in high school. My camp friends had told me they were staying in their home states. That night I saw that they all posted photos to Facebook showing that they had actually flown all the way to my state and were having a huge party with all of the other kids from the summer trip, including the girl who bullied me. The party was 30 minutes away and not only had I not been invited, they had lied to me to keep it a secret. It devastated me and I haven't spoken to them since. It's been over 10 years and it still stings even though I grew out of my awkwardness in college and have a great social life now. TLDR. The friends I thought I was closest to who lived a flight away lied to me about their New Year's Eve plans and secretly planned to come to my state to see other friends and keep it from me. This hurts to read. I'm glad you've made it full circle after this, and those people are buttholes that'll get their karma in some way. My mum died 8 years ago. Told my best friend and her family that the funeral, which was 8 hours away from where we were all situated, was for family only and we were gonna have a memorial for her friends when we got back. Driving to the funeral, past the one of 2 hotels in the town, we see them. Yep, turned up. Dad, brother and I were supposed to be the first ones to say goodbye as they were lowering mum into the ground. Best friend's mum collapses and howls at the head of the grave as we were saying goodbye. Best friend never gave condolences. Last time we spoke was at the wake. Frick those people. We had my uncle and auntie's friends show up at my grandmother's funeral, and my pop asked who they were. Didn't even know my gran. Obviously just wanted an interstate holiday and a couple of days off work. I had a friend who slept with another friend's boyfriend. She tried to justify this by saying she has thyroid cancer and that she's been getting shots every month to help and that after she turns 20 the shots will stop working which will cause her to die. She clearly wasn't educated with how thyroid cancer treatment works. as it has a very high survival rate when diagnosed at a young age. That was a few years, and based on her logic, she only has one more year to live. Even having cancer and thinking that you're going to die doesn't justify betraying your friend like that. WTF. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.